All right, so go ahead and do a test
Hello,
test.
hello. 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Oh,
Pat P 1 2 1 2 1 2 1
test
2
test
1 2.
test.
Test test test.
Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, all fly nerd and nerdettes, you are now in tune to WFNG Fly Nerd Radio.
Boop, boop.
Yeah.
All right,
And what's
let's
up,
go.
man?
I'm
How you
I'm
doing,
excited. I'm
nerdy?
sorry. I don't even want to wait. I don't even
Man, you
want to
don't want
wait.
to wait?
Nah, I don't
All
want
right,
to
you
wait.
just want to get into it?
Nah, let's jump into it.
All right, let's go on in, man. All
I mean,
right,
we'll,
so
we'll do we'll do. Go ahead and introduce yourself. You go ahead, Kyle. Say your
all right,
name.
well, I'm Cosmo Galactus, the shift leader.
I'm ambitious Warhol. I'm anything that needs to be to get what needs to be done. And
Starscream Way.
that's that.
All right.
Oh,
And
is that the baton pass? I wasn't sure.
no, no.
No,
We get to do a proper introduction.
Thank
So
right,
you.
right
right.
now we have a hip hop queen.
Yeah.
We have a queen of
We
bars.
have hip hop royalty, motherfuckers.
We got a queen of cadence, a queen of structure, a queen of education, a queen of teaching, a queen of art, queen of poetry, a queen of
Man.
yeah, like a queen of all
Queen
elements.
of elements. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
queen of all elements. So
She like
um
Storm.
ooh, okay, there we go.
I'll
We
take
go.
Queen
that.
of
There
elements.
we go. We talking about the one and only, the juggernaut herself, Queen
Woo, woo,
Heroin.
woo. Peace, peace. What an introduction. I feel like that's been the illest introduction I've ever heard in my life.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
That's
I
what we
thank
do.
you all.
That's what we
Yes,
do. The
thank
Fly
you.
Nerd Way. Welcome to the
I
Fly Nerd
know,
Group,
man.
Queen.
With the nerdy research. I love it. All of y'all facts. It's so amazing. Thank you. I'm
Yes,
honored to
yes.
be here with you both. Thank you so much for having me.
And the
Excellent. So,
feelings are mutual.
yes, they are. Yes, they are. So, I want to start off real simple. Let's just warm it
Okay,
right up. Let's talk
let's do
about the
that.
name.
Let's get into
It's a
it.
Let's talk
really good
about yeah,
question.
how you come
Yeah.
up with that, and I'll let you go, and then I'll see if you go where I think you're going.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we can totally start with the name. In order to start with the name, I feel like I have to go way, way, way back.
Hmm.
So my
We got time.
brothers. Okay, cool. So my brothers, shout out to Breeze Bruin, shout out to Buddy Slim, to Be Slim,
Indelible.
aka
Yes.
Kev Fever, and then my extended family, Indelible MCs for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm the youngest out of my brothers,
Okay.
and my actual name means joy, or so I've been told. So my first MC name was Baby Joy.
Baby
Horrible name.
Joy.
Horrible name. Horrible name. That was my first actual name.
Okay.
And I was that for a while. I was Baby Joy for a while. Even very, 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 very old boyfriend when I was a young thing got me a ring, like a name ring that said Baby Joy. So I was really Baby Joy for a minute.
Okay.
Then I evolved from that to P Funk, and P Funk was my next given. And I say given because they've always been names like ordained through my brothers, right?
Ah,
Being the
okay.
youngest. And so Kev really more coined me as Baby Joy. Then Breeze, I believe it was more Breeze with P Funk. Maybe it was a hybrid of both of them.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't last super long, but if you hear certain songs, Juggernaut stuff, you'll hear P Funk. You'll actually hear P Funk like a shout
Yeah.
out. So if you're wondering who
Mm-hmm.
that was actually me.
Okay. Okay.
And then
Clear
that
something up.
eventually, yeah, it eventually became Queen Heroin, and that was another Breeze like ordaining. That was another
Okay.
Breeze,
United
knighting,
it.
Yeah,
knighting
yeah,
of,
yeah.
goddessing of. Yeah, and so it's interesting because throughout the time and articles and years of doing what we've done and
Mm-hmm.
continue to do, um, it was like shortened. We'd have articles where people would be like Heron, Queen Heron. And
Mm,
I'd be like, no, it's not
Right.
Heron, it's
Right.
heroin. But I
right.
think as a society, we just automatically go there rather than thinking of it in the sense of female like hero, which is
Yes.
really
Yeah.
what the origin is about.
That's
That's
what
the
I
Yeah.
origin
figured.
story. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's funny you say storm earlier, right? It's
Right.
really about being a heroine, a female hero, as opposed to any other connotations. Now, have I utilized the metaphor of that over time? Yes. I have addictive like that, but from a more metaphoric standpoint with writing and the craft, not with
Right.
anything negative to promote. Definitely,
Nah,
I
you a
come
dope
from.
MC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
That-
I come from the era of say no to drugs. You know,
Right,
I
right.
come from them commercial eras. So
Crack the egg.
I can't say I've ever been advocating for things like that. It was always about the female hero. And that inspired me to change my spelling of the name. I should have left it. I will say that. I'll go on the record saying I should have left it. It almost felt like I was giving into the direction people were pushing it as opposed to just standing firm on it. But I got tired of people misspelling it and giving it things that I didn't intend for it to be. And so I changed it from HER, like the regular heroin spelling, to
Right.
HERAWIN. And then there was no more mix-ups. So
I think that's fine because in hip
yeah,
hop we got to have our own language, the way that we
The
talk and
vernacular,
everything,
yeah.
the vernacular. So that's
indeed,
ownership as well. So you know, it's nothing wrong
absolutely.
with that. There's
And I
nothing.
love it because when I shorten it, I say Hera. And Hera is actually
Even
also a like a Greek figure. So not that I buy too much into that necessarily, but my point is that there's some validity in that space as well. Hera is actually like a figure.
You could go toe
and
to toe with Thor. We got that. We
yeah,
got
Oh,
that.
yeah.
most definitely.
Yeah.
Except that I got the mic, the gold mic, right?
Right. You know, we
Yeah,
got that. We got that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's ill. Cause even in the spelling like it is now, it's like, yeah, heroin. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Hmm.
It's
Exactly.
a way to play on it in a lot of different ways. That's why I was like, that name is all over. It's really dope.
It is a play. I appreciate you bringing that up because that was also something that I was really mindful of, like
Hmm.
her win. And after a while, I was like, damn, well, I'm just advocating for her. Like, what about me? But me is her. And
Right.
so I've the space that I've grown and evolved into, not even just as an artist, but as a person. And I think trying to, go in the space of more humanitarian work through art, through the craft, it is about other folks. It is about like other people and how we can help inspire, educate, so it is about her and him and they and just
Hmm.
people becoming their best selves. It is definitely more than just about us. So
Right.
it works.
So you a lot of, and this is jumping the gun. I know Kaz has some directions, but since we
Sure.
on this topic,
Hmm.
a lot of your songs are titled with emotions.
Yes.
And then now you just mentioned that one of your names as an MC was Joy.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
So it's just, is there an element to that connection, or is that just serendipitous?
I think it's more serendipitous for the most part. There's a storyline behind how the whole project really started to take shape and form um with regard to emotions. So the first song I actually recorded was actually done in Chicago
Oh,
before I moved. And
Good
it was
job.
just a verse. It was a verse. It hadn't evolved yet into an actual song.
mhm.
Shout out to Marlon Solitaire King. I'm gonna throw out his whole government out there, Insomniac Studios,
There we
right?
go. Okay,
I'm
okay,
gonna
okay.
We'll
shout him
censor out
out.
the first name.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. He
Just solid there.
professional. He professional. He in the
Right.
schools and
You
things
know
too.
what it is.
That's what's
Yeah,
up.
but
That's what's up.
Insomniac Studios, that's where I was working through a very close loved one of mine. He put me on to Marlon, and Marlon really became family out there for me too, extended fam. Since I'm originally from New York, so being out in Chicago, having that as a home base was super helpful. And it took me a minute to find somewhere like that, and this reference kept coming, like, "Yo, just go to him." And eventually I did, and it made all sense. But the first song was recorded in Insomniac Studios by him. In Blue Island is where he's at. So for anybody looking
Yep.
for some, I know y'all have your home team too,
Yeah, yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
fam out there, but additional studio spaces. He's official. So yeah, I did
Okay.
Denial.
Okay.
Denial, my verse for Denial was done out there. At the
Okay.
time, I was calling it I'm Okay, which you do hear in the hook, but that was the title. But I changed the name from I'm Okay to Denial because it speaks to what the song is about. Like saying you're okay, it's a very common way of like, yeah, I'm good, but you're really not. And
You're
there's a
really
whole
not,
bunch of
right.
reasons why we do that, right? So I just kind of wanted to speak to that. And I know you guys are going to dig into questions, I'm sure, with the album more, but I just bring that up to say that was really the inception of the project. It was just an idea, a verse that turned into just a more expanded version of what I was trying to say with dope features. And then I came to New York. I moved to New York, and the next thing I worked on, which was a while, it was probably a year before I even touched anything with the supposed what became the album. I was helping support my brother Breeze with his release of Hindsight. We were working on that, and so I really was hands off for a minute from the music. I did some collaboration joints, but I wasn't focused on a project per se. And then same gentleman, Marlon, I was looking for instrumentals to work on this, like as background music for something, one of my passion projects called the Process Sessions that kind of documents, it document like the process of different artists and their work and exploration, etc. And so I was like, yo, Marlon, can you send me some beats for this possibly? And he was like, yeah, I got you, Queen, no problem. So he sends me a few, and I hear the beat for Anger. And I was like, this is not going to go here, but I will definitely use it gladly.
Save the best beats for myself.
Correct. Thank you. I would like to use that here. I'll just push that on this side. You know what I mean? So yeah, that became the first like formal intentional song with a concept connected to emotion. And it was Anger, and it made sense because I hadn't really written in a while. There were things that I wasn't feeling so great about that I felt like I needed a vent. And so all of a sudden this idea of emotion, connecting that to a theme for, well, let me say this, emotion is now specific at this point. I had like an email. I don't know if I should or couldn't say this. I'll say this. I had an email conversation with one of the most incredible, respected artists ever on the planet, emcees. And he was like, you know what? This is really dope, but why don't you consider adding to this and exploring other emotions? And I was like,
ha ha.
that's aha. Aha, there's something here.
Yeah.
And then I go back to I'm okay. And I'm like, denial.
Word.
What different emotions and what other emotions can I explore in this creative process of putting together the album? And it was such an important moment because it gave me direction and shape, and it inspired me to be intentional about everything I was creating moving forward with the album. And it started to feel like, damn, I want to do an album now, not just where am I going with the music.
Right.
So you figured out a concept, and you're from the cloth. You're from the cloth of the concept, rap, creative. You know, I'm this role, I'm this persona, but I'm talking about this concept. You come from a whole lineage of concept creators that way. Is it easier to write like that once you have that purpose? And when you come up with more songs and more tracks, is it easier to create once you figure, you know, you got your puzzle, now you got to put the pieces together?
Yeah, no, that's excellent. I was just having this conversation with Wordsworth because he's doing some amazing things podcasts as well. What a Wordsworth, shout out to him. So yeah, we're talking kind of about the creative process, and I do think that it's easier to write conceptual based songs. I do. And the reason I feel like it is because when we're talking about a concept, there usually is some kind of emotional attachment to it, period. Whether we're talking about this theme, this project is emotion based, but even if it wasn't a thematic emotion based album, but it was a concept, there would be some feeling that you'd have about that concept, something that's going to have you really sound in your you're going to have some kind of like vindication about whatever the topic is. And with that firmness, with that sense of real passion, there's emotion involved in whatever extent. So when you start to tap into, I think, emotion, and then you add in logic, you add in research, you add in technical skills, I think the combination of everything kind of it's reason to go. Like it gives you direction. There's a lot of in educated talk, prior knowledge. There's stuff that's gonna come, and then you're gonna be like, okay, flooded with all these different ideas and potential directions, versus something that's just like a 16 kiloverse, and now you're like, okay, let me play with metaphor. Let me play with just simile. Let me play with the technical. You're kind of like, how can I
it's a
glean
different
different
search.
ideas?
Okay, I
It's a
see what you're
different
saying.
search.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
a different search.
right?
Wow.
Yeah, just like you're popping junk, you're looking for this, you're pulling on, looking for lines to hit. It's just very, very different. And so one, you have some sense of pre-foundational platform. So whether it's emotion or idea, you already have a starting point, versus a complete blank canvas with just a freestyle verse. And now it's like, how can I develop some of these cool lines and ideas to say this so that it hits bar for bar? It's different.
Right.
Wow. So damn.
So do you find yourself, do you start with the core idea and start building the structure of what's the content is going to be, or do you find the beat and then the beat kind of leads you into your subject?
In other words, do you write with the beat or without the beat first?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I think it's a combination. No, I get it. I'm a nerd too. I get it. So I do both. But I predominantly do beat.
Okay.
So I'm more beat dominant, because again, I like to feel it. I like to get a tone and build some kind of a relationship to it, as far as how it makes me feel and what moods it brings about, what melodies come from those moods. So for me, the beat is a very inspirational piece and guiding me on where I want to go. However, on this project, it's been a combination of both, because then I've had the idea, especially with something like emotion, it's kind of like, well, what haven't I spoken to? So then it's like, okay, I haven't spoken to love. Okay, what does love sound like for me? I haven't spoken to shame. What does shame sound like for me? And then at that point, I'll go through tracks and I'll be like, oh yes, that one right there. Yeah. And then from there, I'll write.
So the beats speak to you, and then you'd be like, all right, then we can use this.
For the most part, yeah. And then other times, like I said, on this particular project, I've had the idea or the concept, but not the beat. And as soon as I heard the beat, it matched the concept. And I'm like, okay, yeah, now this is a go. But I do often, when it comes to writing, the beat is really important for me. I'll just play it on repeat. I will annoy the heck out of my daughter. Like, Mom, how you been playing that for how long? But she know who I am. So
gotta get it right, buddy.
Gotta get it right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you an empath?
Yes. I shouldn't say that publicly so that people know. Let me get a heroin. Yeah, I am. I totally am. I think any musician who's really a musician, or let me rephrase that, any artist who's really an artist, I think there's a good portion of who they are as a person that is probably empathic. Not all, but I do think that, because it's a weird hybrid between empath and narcissist. Because you have to be empathic to feel, but there's some level of selfishness that comes with being an artist, right? Whether it's time away from other things or people that you love, whether it's such devotion that you avoid other things that need to be tended to. And so I think it is a mixture, but I do feel like as an artist who's really an artist, because people throw the word around, I'm not sure if everyone is in this sense. We all create, but not everyone is an artist. So we may all be creators to different levels, but not necessarily all artists. And so an artist observes, and then what they observe, if it really affects them, then they have something to say about it. And then they choose their vehicle or tool to communicate that. Paintbrush, camera, microphone, whatever it is, paper, pen. So I think there's definitely a level of empathy that needs to, or that's connected to creation, because it's a very delicate process of being introspective, going within, and then tending to something. And then if we're looking at it from a non-gender space, right, you're creative, so you're bringing life to something. And then to go back into a gender space, women give birth, and so
Right.
you don't have to be a woman to give birth, but there is something. I almost double up on it. I'm a mother as well. I'm also an educator, and so I think there are qualities of an empath that almost by default an educator who's a really good educator, and by default a parent who's a good parent possesses.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's too dissimilar from creating
that definitely
actual art.
translates. Yeah, that definitely
Right.
translates to
Right.
each, because you're working with the
Yeah.
kids and things of that nature. So
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. We feel,
And-
empaths feel. And if
Absolutely.
you're
Yeah.
not feeling a beat, how are you really working on it? You know,
Right.
and make me
it's
feel
Exactly.
what you feeling, right?
there it is.
Exactly. It
There it is.
translates.
And now
It
that's
translates.
really the sauce. That's the secret
Yeah.
sauce. I feel it, but
Yeah.
if you can feel based on what I created, that means we're really tapping into something now.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
That's awesome.
And that makes
work.
sense because you can create an object, but art is subjective. So we're putting ourselves into what we're creating and
Absolutely.
becoming something new.
Absolutely.
Right.
Every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's heavy.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So
Okay. Oh, go ahead, bro.
okay. So this is just a quick question, but it's also going to lead to something else. So what's your favorite verse that you have?
I almost feel like for me it's like like in chronologic order. So I say that because my favorite verse when I was much younger is actually on the re-release. Shout out to Juggaknots re-release
Yep.
album
Yep.
coming
Yep.
out.
Yep.
You know, I gotta plug that.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah, we got a little in-store coming up on the 8th in New York if you hear.
Let's go.
Yeah,
I gotta do
man.
one in Chicago.
I would love to do that. You know, when I was in the Chi, I was in Hyde Park, so I'd love to do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, is it Hyde Park Records?
Yeah,
over
it's
there?
Hyde Park.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
still.
my God, I would go there just looking for old vinyl. I've found some really good vinyl there. I found Prince Among Thieves there.
Oh
In the vinyl
wow.
store over there.
Wow.
But yeah.
Okay.
Damn, I'm getting old. Give me the question again. I'm so sorry. It's what happens. You know those commercials, those like IG things where they're like 40. What was I looking for?
Right.
That's me.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm so
your
sorry.
your favorite bars. Of
Okay,
your house.
favorite bars. Thank you. Shush. So in chronologic order, my first favorite would be the one that's on Who Makes It Hot. That's why I mentioned the re-release. Yes, there it is. There it is. Who Makes It Hot? For me, I felt like that was the first time that it was official. Like, oh, you did some cool things here. Like, and I was aware of it. And then my brothers were also like, damn, that's crazy. What is wrong with you? What is
Like,
wrong
what are
with
you
your
doing?
mind? What are you doing? So that was the first time that I kind of was like, oh, not only was I excited about it, like Kaz was just saying a moment ago, like my brothers were also like,
They felt
so there was like a cause and effect with what I wrote, like on a whole nother scale. I think that I don't know if I'd say it's one of my favorites, but I think it's a favorite for a lot of other people, which is it changed a lot of things for me. The Lyricist Lounge, Volume 1, my verse on weight.
Yes.
With the indelible MCs, Jugs and Indelibles. That changed a lot for me. I realized the power behind the engine, you know, and just the exposure and things that could happen as a result of writing. And I mean, I've performed that verse from weight and people know my verse like word for word. It was just a really humbling experience. So I don't know if it's necessarily one of my favorites, but it's super important and significant to me because of what it did and what it showed me. And also I think it's a lot of other people's favorites. I think later on, as I started to really get into the craft a lot more on the Metamorphosis album, I would say my verses on Committed are my favorite out of the whole album from a writing space. And you know, I'm still trying to beat myself. You know, I'm still trying to have a new favorite and have a new favorite and have a new favorite. I always write with the intention of getting better.
You know, you're the second MC I've heard say that in a long time. Lupe just recently said the same thing. He says he has not done his best yet, and he feels and
Yeah,
he's trying to always be better than he was.
absolutely.
No plateaus, no leveling off. That's
Yeah,
heavy.
I
That's
mean,
crazy.
yeah, yeah, just always like, you think about old, Asian flicks, and this is always the word mastery. And, you
Mm.
know, that's a powerful word because at what point do you master?
Right.
You
That's a
know,
life. That's a life.
that's a life. Yeah, maybe your collection of work that you've created when people look back on some like retrospective can potentially be seen as mastery, or maybe that mastery itself happens at, I don't know, age 67 and a half. I don't know. But for me, for me, I'm just constantly wanting to grow as an artist, get better and evolve. And as a person, as a mother, as a, like just
Hmm.
evolution is important to me. Just the idea of just finding ways to get better. And it doesn't mean by any means that you know, you're never gonna, I don't think anyone is ever perfect. I think you can be perfect in your imperfections and you could be very clear about who you are as a person, as an
Hmm.
artist. But
Mm.
I think it's always about growth.
Right.
Okay.
So let's get into some of this training that you had to do,
Okay.
young Padawan, young Jedi. What the hell?
Yes,
In the
that's a good
school of
way to
mutants
put
with
it.
In
juggernauts.
this, yeah, school of mutants and juggernauts. You in the danger room every day.
Oh, it was real. It was very, very real.
So
Yeah.
how? What? I
What
know
was
you
that like?
guys. What was it like? Yeah, because we're from
Yeah.
Chicago. We
Yeah.
never have that full pure experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we come from the same household, the MCs and artistry as
Yep.
well. But
Hmm.
it's not like New York. You guys just go out and hey,
Yeah,
it's all
right.
good. Yeah. So
I will
what
say
was
this. Yeah, no,
what
no,
was what
please
was that
finish your
like?
thought. One, I want to say this before I even get into that. Chicago is no joke when it comes to music.
And you
What?
know
So let me just say that
that.
culture, music, hip hop, just on a whole, it's a very special place. And that's why I was happy for the time that I was there, to call it home. That was the only thing I think being in Chicago made it feel like I wasn't so far from New York.
Yeah.
Not just from a
Nice.
physical sense, but yeah, just a lot of the vibe out there and what's appreciated and valued. And so I say that as a precursor because it's real, it's authentic, and it's been real out there, right?
Yeah,
When we're
yeah,
talking about music and culture and things like that.
absolutely.
Obviously, yeah, obviously, being really young in the Bronx, that played a pivotal role for me.
Yeah.
Video music box growing up. So the Ralph, shout out to Ralph McDaniels. I mean,
Hmm.
that foundation for me,
Hmm.
that was part of the training before I realized that was formally training. So
Right.
when I'm watching video music box glued to the TV, sitting way too close, like when your parents move back, uh, that started the training, I think, process for sure. You know, Big Daddy Kane, Rakim, MC
Mm,
Light, Queen
mm,
Latifah, EPMD, Cool
mm.
G Rap. So like watching videos and that being an inspirational tool, but also a directive tool to say, hey, this is how it's done.
Okay.
Tribe, that was major. Public Enemy, major, major, major.
Right.
Just seeing it was part of the training because, again, back to the education hat, modeling. That's an
Mm,
education term that's always used, right? Modeling. And so seeing these other artists in their craft and at the height of their craft, or the ascension of their craft, that was modeling what this looks like, what it
Hmm.
sounds like, what it feels like. So
mm,
that was like really the introduction for me. Being in a home, then later when we moved, being in a home of creators when I was no longer physically in the Bronx at the time, but we weren't far. We were like 15 minutes from the Bronx. But when you're young, you don't know. So you think it's super far, but we weren't that far actually. We weren't. We were in New Road. Shout out to New Road, brand newbie and stuff. So we weren't that far, but like the surrounding environment was for
Yeah.
me. I'm
It was
thinking we're
different.
super far, but the culture bridged the gap because, like I said, brand Nubian. So now we go from the X to Nouveau, and you have brand Nubian. So there's that bridge right there. Oh, Nubian from New. Okay, cool. Hip hop. We everywhere, right? Or whatever we're meant at that time for me, right? So not a super disconnect. And then in the house, my brothers were working on the Clear Blue Sky album. Which has been kind of coined that. It's been kind of coined that name. But you know, watching Breeze write, and just yesterday we were talking, and we're talking about Romper Room, him writing Romper Room. And I was like, yeah, Breeze, what was you like 16? He was like, I wrote Romper Room when I was 13 years old.
What?
Easy.
Romper Room.
Yo.
If you go back and listen to Romper Room, the lyrics on Romper Room, he talk about fly nerd. He is an absolute nerd. I'm like, you wrote that at 13, Breeze? And these are things I'm learning about my brother that, you know, like you just assume, you know. I thought it was more like 16. He's like, nah, I wrote that when I was 13. So it's like when you have that in your house and that level of excellence, right? I'm totally exposed to that. So I think on some level, it was like Osmosis Jones, like just being in the environment. I was able to kind of take that on, right?
You assimilated.
Yeah, exactly. I did. I really did assimilate to my environment. It was just like, yo, I really just started to seep that in. With the sounds, with the beats Kev was making, with the things Breeze was, you know, writing, and also just understanding the level of that excellence. And so there's that part of it, right? The writing and really seeing it and hearing it. I remember Kev making beats on the EPS. And it's like, I saw it and I heard it. And then the other caveat is I was going to the studio sometimes with them, not all the time, but sometimes.
Okay.
And so they were going to, you know, they had a major, you know, deal for a minute. And so they were going to studios like Chung King, Calliope, D&D. And I'm in these spaces and I'm hearing the music. I remember being in Calliope, I believe it was Calliope. And Calliope, if I'm not mistaken, Calliope had like this huge window, like kind of like on an angle, but it was like all glass. And just the feel of being in the city and then coming from leaving the X, leaving New Road, coming here, and the grandiosity of it. Like, it was just so grandiose being in booths like that. It was just, I was awestruck. Like, whoa, this is powerful. Not just the writing, the environment, Slick Rick and that X environment, seeing the process of my brothers creating, but then seeing the levels and stages of how it evolves and where it can go. And then Stretch and Bob shows, and then I'm kind of coming at those spots, and you know, so seeing the evolution of it, that in itself was boot camp, and then there was the actual practice of it. So I start writing, and my brothers were like, "Oh, that's cute, you know, that's cute. Oh, you got some ideas on a yellow pad. That's nice,
wow,
you know." And then they were like, well, you're just too young. You're too young. And it wasn't just for like honing the craft. There was a lot, I think they were just being very protective about environment wise, going into clubs and different things.
Little sister.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So they were just like, you're not there yet. Correct. And so see how the Chicago come, as you should.
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
I love it. Walk on the inside.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. So they had me walking. They was walking on the outside of the block, you know, metaphorically speaking, and I'm over here writing and just fine tuning. And then my brothers start to kind of get wind of like one of my homegirls, Tisha, from like really young. She had a sweet 16. I was 15 at the time because I was a year young. I'm a year younger than her. And she had a party and I was rhyming. I remember what I wore was a cute black dress, matter of fact. Had my hair pulled back kind of similar to this. And I was doing my thing. And then word got around, like local dudes, because Tisha, I believe Tisha's from New Rose. So like dudes knew Tisha, and then Breeze and Kev was like, yo, we heard you was rhyming at some party, Sweet 16. And we heard you killed it. So they start hearing word of me.
That's the
doing things separate from them. And that was because I knew I had to get my pen game strong. And it was sometimes until it was strong enough, I wasn't even going to bring it to my brothers till I felt like it was solid enough. Right. And then when I started bringing it to them and showing them, they were like, one, she's very serious. And then Breeze was like, he'd be like, yo, why don't you need to work on this, you need to work on that. And then that verse
Now the
that I
tutelage
did,
come in.
correct. And then whenever I did that verse on the Who Makes It Hot verse, he was like, now you're doing stuff where I don't know if you're conscious that you're doing it, but you're doing some really amazing creative stuff. I don't know if you're aware of it yet, but you are doing it. And so now we start to get into a real scientific, nerdy analysis of the writing process.
See,
and,
right.
And rhyme schemes and space and, bar counting, which was not my strength for a long time. I was just like real free with it. And he was
was counting bars back then? Like,
oh, you don't want to counting bars? Breeze? Oh, you don't know. You don't know. No, Breeze. Yo, Breeze would be like this. Breeze would be like, where's my marker? Breeze would be like, okay, you're going to do this. And he would just be like, okay, mapping out, like, where's this?
Yeah,
he'd be like,
right
oh,
there.
here and here and here. He'd have the lines and be like, okay, that count.
Wow.
4. Okay, next thing.
Okay.
To the point of breaking up a word and sectioning the word, like, no, that whole word doesn't fit on that bar. That continues to the Breeze is a scientist. Breeze is a damn mathematician. So
Redman do that a lot too. He break the word up too. He used to break the word. That's a MC. Yeah, that's a gem.
He is he's a scientist. So
he
was showing me that from young when he saw some real potential, but he wanted me to really he didn't want the verse to whoop me. He wanted me to whoop the verse. He was like, you got to understand how to really control and manipulate what you're saying. It was more control. It was like tightening, tightening it in. So I would say that was a huge part of the training. And then lastly, I would say, Kev was also instrumental on that because I was playing like Who Got the Prop, shout out to, Black Moon and Beat Miners and Stuff Fam. And so I would play Who Got the Props instrumental over and over and over. That was like one of my training songs where I would just practice my verse within that. And then Kev was like, you got to do it at different speeds. So he would manipulate the speed of on the vinyl. He's like, you got to play it fast so that you could spit it fast. You could spit it slow. And then the biggest challenge, I think, which was some water torture stuff. He's like, you got to be able to spit over something when someone's speaking, not when it's just an instrumental. You got to be able to spit over it with people talking and not be distracted by that. It's kind of like, I don't play sports, but I connected to the idea of being on court playing ball and somebody's talking, can I curse? Talking shit, right? You hear them, they're talking smack on while you're on the court, but you can't allow that to throw off your game. And so it was very similar to that. Like, you got to be able to spit, whether it's instrumental or not. Your focus is what you're doing. And that was a challenge, but it was a good one.
I look at it like Neo a little bit. You got to tap into it's about the beat. So you clear all that stuff out. You can kind of like see it. You know what I mean?
Matrix.
And then, straight
That's
matrix.
a good way to describe it.
You see the math. You
can see the path. You walk
so it doesn't
path.
matter what's going on. It's just like you see it. You know what I mean?
And that's really, and that's
direct.
the practice. That's perfect, because that's really the practice of meditation too. Is you got to quiet your mind. And that's not always easy because we have so many thoughts and things that are going on. But once you can kind of like really get centered, that's when some real magic happens. Like literal healing in your body.
Let's get into that, yo, because you was mentioning chakra power-ups and all types of stuff with focus. I was like, all right, that's why I asked you, are you an empath? Because I see that. So do you meditate? Do you meditate? I mean, like really, really meditate.
I do.
He mean like floating.
I think I definitely be floating on these tracks, but no, I meditate. Talking shit. Meditate. Yes, I believe in meditation. I don't meditate as long as I should. Right. So sometimes I cheat and I'll be like, I use YouTube often where I'll like do guided meditations. And you can like literally type in things you want to work on. Meditation for peace or,
with the frequencies and everything.
Exactly. And so sometimes I'll do like the 5-minute joint, like ain't nobody got time for this, but I'm still trying to stay in the practice of meditating. And so I'll do that. And then sometimes I'll be like, stop this, girl. Like, come on, do 10 minutes. Stop playing, you know? So
Right.
I realize the longer that I do kind of, and I say the word force because I do sometimes have to force myself into those spaces. When
We
I
all
can
do.
yeah, for sure. Right. So when I do like 10 minutes, I would say around 6 to 8, I really start to get a bit quiet. And then I'm like, damn, it was over at 10 already. I should do 15. But then, you know, I go back to 5 the following day.
Right.
But yes, so, but yes, I believe in meditation. I actually create a space for myself, like a designated space to meditate.
Okay.
Yeah, recently I'm like in between spaces now. Hey, I'm in between spaces now. And so I had like an actual legit spot in my old apartment. See, I knew she was going, hey, come here, come here, come here.
She excited.
Yeah, she talk
Nah,
about
she
meditation.
thinks she's a pit bull. She thinks she's a pit bull. And so what happens is when anyone comes to the door, she starts to go crazy. It's okay. It's all right. Calm down.
At least she got your back, you know.
Yo, too much.
It
She be
is.
trying to bite the mailman. I'm like, I don't need the lawsuits. But yeah, the meditation
That's
is real.
Chicago. We ride for you.
Let me tell you something. Chicago and New York, she's a serious mix right here.
Perfect balance.
But the meditation is real. And I create spaces. I believe in like all that aromatherapy, incense, and just
You
like
have crystals.
I do. I
Okay.
do. I do. I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I'm a nature lady. I'm more spiritual than orthodox anything.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I do believe in the power of healing from an energetic space. And I do believe in water being therapeutic. I love being near water. That's why I loved my spot because I was right by the lake. I was right by, you know, in Hyde Park. I was right over there. I just walk over there. I just walk over to the lake and walk.
Yeah.
Water is really therapeutic. So to me, all of that is really important. Yeah.
So what's your sign, Virgo?
What are you, girl? A Capricorn? You already know.
Long walks on the beach.
Right.
Actually, no, I'm Scorpio, and so that's probably where that comes from. All that water
That
stuff.
makes sense. Yeah.
Scorpios are fiery. But anyway.
Yes, we're the fiery water side.
That explains a lot of the bars, particularly on anger.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
The wordplay on anger is tremendous.
It's tough.
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
Thank you.
And you can definitely hear a lot of the growth and a lot of the limits that you're pushing with the way you're spitting now.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's definitely working. It's working.
That means a lot. I appreciate I had that talk last night. I was in the studio. I went to my brothers. Both of my brothers are still in the X. And so I went down to visit Kev, and there was some family there who I hadn't seen in a while. Shout out to Amir was there, also fam MC. Shout out to Nine. Nine is actually really like family, like he's extended family. And so Nine was listening to the album I was playing. Well, we were all doing like a just fam listening kind of impromptu. Mm-hmm. And he said the same thing to me last night because I've known him for so many years through Kev, through my brother. And he said, yo, I can really hear your growth on this album lyrically. And that meant a lot to me. Again, back to what we said earlier, like it should be about growth. So I take that as the highest compliment because I was very intentional with playing with space. Even anger is very unorthodox. It's like maybe 12 bars and 8 bars. And I kind of just didn't care. Yeah, I was like, I'm just going to say what I want to say, how I want to say it. And that's it.
But it worked so well. It's tight. It's just tight.
Thank you.
Because when you're listening to it, it's like you see where it's going, but then it's like you thinking you about to catch it, and you're like, nope, about to switch up on you. It's great. It's great.
Right. Thank you so much. That means a lot. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I want to switch the topics because I know we talked about the MCing and all of the things and the whole crucible of how you was in the house with like just some ridiculous MCs from jump.
Yes.
But I also understand that from the educational side, your parents were educators as well.
So my mother was. My father's definitely not an educator, but he's formally. But he has taught us a lot. So in an informal sense, yes. But in a certified formal sense, my mom, she's a retired certified educator for sure.
That's dope.
So you're doing hip hop.
She's gonna get kicked out. Yep.
Then you step into education. Now we know the bridge, education and hip hop, and how that ties in because it's just the culture. It's already there in the culture.
Yeah, definitely.
How did you step into that space from where you were doing the music and of course the art, and then you step into education?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So having my mom be a certified educator, my first introduction to teaching was as a TA, as a teacher's assistant.
Okay.
And I was super young, and she was like, "You need a job. you should come. You should come to the school and work over here. I got pulled. They love me. Like, you should come over here." And I did. And so I went as a TA, and I worked for a couple of years as a teacher's assistant. And I'm be honest with you, my first introduction to education, I wasn't in love with it. And It wasn't that I wasn't in love with what it was and the power of education. I just personally wasn't in love with the idea of becoming a teacher. That was never my intention. It wasn't. Okay. Now, did I have dolls when I was a little girl and like they played stuff like that? Yeah. Now that I think back, it's probably where it really started, right? Setting them up. Like, you do this, 1 + 1, probably from there. But formally, it was through my mom and that opportunity. And I think I had a knack for it, even from there. And I think this goes back to the comment about the empathy. In the Bronx, before my mom was a certified educator, she used to do daycare. And so she's always been in a very educative type of mind state, right? Homework as a West Indian, my mother's Jamaican, my father's Trinidadian, so it was always like, yo, wagwan with your homework. Like, it was always, education was always a big deal. Yeah. Regardless, you TV off, like, do your work, So it was like we was getting it before we were getting it, right? Yeah. So I start as a TA, and that evolves into an opportunity where I said probably the first connection to hip hop or writing, I'll say. And I asked the principal or the superintendent, like, do you think during the summer I could do like a workshop or teach like poetry? I was so young. I must have been like 18. And he was like, yeah, I'll let you do that. Sure. And I do that. My students were like 2 years younger than me, 3 years younger than me. Oh, it was so awkward. It was so awkward. I had to ignore many a comment. So, I did that. And then afterwards, I said, maybe I should try this teaching thing. And my friend Dana, he was like, yo, you should reach out to a friend of mine. It was a Black-owned business by this woman in Mount Vernon. Shout out to Money Earning Mount Vernon. And so, and so she was like, sure, come on by. She had a nursery downstairs, then she had a pre-K upstairs. Okay. And so my first actual teaching experience was as a pre-K educator before I was formally certified, but I was a teacher. And I started teaching pre-K. I want to say I was like maybe like 20, 21. Okay. And then I went back to school. I was probably more like 21. And I went back to school and I got my certification in education specifically because my undergrad is in writing. So it was supposed to be art. I failed out of that and I transitioned. Yeah, I know, right? And then I transitioned. That's why education is interesting. I transitioned into writing. And that's what I finished with. And then when I went back, I did education formally. I got my master's in education. Okay. And then I taught. I started to teach. And I went back to the school where I was a TA. And I started teaching special education there and working with like elementary students. And I did that for quite a few years. Okay. And then I bounced from that. It's interesting because I do remember very vividly having moments of being in the classroom and daydreaming about music. Wow. And I would be like, yeah, this is great, but I miss my craft. I
think that's a work thing. I think as an artist, I do that too. When I'm working a 9 to 5, that's my most creative shit. I'll be like, "Whoa, I got the bars today. I ain't answering no calls."
Because you thinking about ways to get out of there. I gotta get out of there.
Absolutely, kids, teach yourself. Right. You kids are chalking the board. Yeah, I gotta break these rhymes. Absolutely. And so I found that happening like a lot. I was also juggling it still, I was also, we have shows here and there, so I was also juggling it still. And then there was days I was like getting really tired at work because I'm studio and this, it was like a hard juggle. And then I left for a minute and I decided to open up an art gallery because I'm a visual artist too, and a painter. And so I do that. That leads me into art therapy a bit. I never got my license, but I went back to school yet again, and I finished with studio arts. I went back again. It was crazy. But anyway, I went back with the intention of doing
That's a Jamaican in you. It's all
that
good.
is like 40,000 jobs, 80 degrees. Exactly. And so I don't finish the art therapy, but I finished with studio art, and then I merge it. So I went like a roundabout way to start teaching visual art. Right? Right? Yes. Okay. So this is what brought me to Chicago. Right. After I was teaching special ed for years in New York, I did the art stuff for a minute, the gallery for a minute, some curation. And then I started looking for work again in New York, and there was like a hiring freeze, and I couldn't find something full time. And there's a longer story. I'll give you the shorter version, but I go to Chicago. Okay. And I'm offered this job in Chicago, teaching visual arts. Basically kindergarten through 12th grade at a charter school. Nice. Yeah, I know. There were 2 art teachers. I was one of them, and we split the classes. So I had half the workload. She had half the classes, but it was K through 12. And that's when I really got like a serious taste of formally teaching art. But it was a great relationship. I mean, I had kids. Them kids really love me. I got kids who follow me now on IG from Chicago, from my Chicago school. Yeah,
as they should.
That's the impact.
They should, and I love them. You know, I be checking in with them sometimes, but they stay on the thing. I got to do my due diligence. But yeah, and I taught for years there. And then when I came back to New York, I started teaching as an adjunct professor, and I taught. Well, I didn't do last semester, but I've done like communications there. I've taught a hip hop course. That was my first connection. Well, I wouldn't say formally, but teaching hip hop education. And then also an art class through there. But while I was in Chicago, I got connected to Next Level. That was my first real hip hop education experience before I came back to New York. If I'm doing it in the right order. Yeah. And I applied for it, and I think I got it because I believe I got it because I had the amount of years as an actual artist, as an emcee,
right.
And I had the record.
I was just going to say I wasn't going to be cocky, but you got it because you're Queen Herawin.
I appreciate you, but it's also a teaching artist program, right? And so they saw that I was a formal teacher, like a certified teacher. I think the relationship between
both,
perfect storm.
I think that really did it. And that set me on a whole nother trajectory where I was teaching international. I went to Peru and taught emceeing. Like that was different for me. And I was like, oh,
whoa.
So you went to Peru. You speak different languages?
No Espanol. No poquito. Just a little bit. just a little bit.
So you're teaching them how to MC.
But not only that, on a phonetic level, because you're a technical MC yourself.
Yeah, but I had that, shout out to Next Level. It's such an amazing, it's a hip hop initiative, exchange program. And it really isn't just about teaching. I'll say it's probably more about sharing and exchange because when I stepped ground, when I got there, hip hop is very much in the building in Peru, heavy. And you realize, and the program speaks to this, which is more so called like hip hop diplomacy. It's this idea that, you'll come and you'll share what you know and your expertise with what you do. But there's this cognizance and this humility in that, it's out here too. So don't think you're just teaching them, like putting them on the game.
They have a perspective too.
For sure. And talent and like hard body. They do different levels, like would be anywhere, New York, Chicago, wherever, but it does exist. And so don't think you're bringing something to them that they have no idea of, but you are bringing some things that they don't know. And you are sharing a certain level of experience and the culture from a different space, right, of origin. And so it was an
translation. That's all. You know what I mean?
So, no, that's fact. So they provided a translator with me. For me.
Oh, okay.
Through the
I was
embassy.
Wondering if they spoke English or not. Okay.
They provided one, but what was ill was that there were parts that I asked the translator, I'm like, did they say this? And she was like, yeah, how did you know? And so there became this sense of connection between
It's the
the participants.
communication. So
Correct. Where certain things I just understood.
that's
And
dope.
she was like, yo, how did you know that? And I'm like, I could feel it, whether it was
That's
body
that
language
empath
or
again.
maybe,
Not only
you
that,
know?
not only that, but hip hop is a universal language as well.
That part.
Yeah.
And so there were things that I think innately we were saying as artists that and as people, and it was like, okay, yeah, that's exactly what that is. It was a really interesting experience, like with the language. But yeah, it connected us in ways that I didn't expect naturally would have happened like that.
Okay.
So coming back to the States, did you I want to know what were some of the hip hop techniques and things that you would implicate for some of your your work studies and stuff like that?
You mean when I was out there or when I came back
Either
from...
or. Well, I know what you was doing out there in Peru. What about in the
Okay.
States?
Oh yeah, so when I came back to the States, I think my whole mind state has shifted in just how much more I could be doing. That's what I will say.
Oh, that's heavy.
From a space of like, whoa, I just went and taught a program or did an exchange program rooted in hip hop education and the arts. And for a very, very, very long time, I've always felt like these different personalities and parts of my life were very splintered. MC, educator, visual artist, and next level, really, that opportunity really allowed me to bring everything together and feel like instead of feeling separated, I was combining it like on some straight Voltron, unit. And so I started thinking differently about continuing to build with that program and maintain that relationship. And then speaking from a space now formally of hip hop education, not just, oh, I'm an MC and I'm an educator, but like, what does hip hop education look like?
Yeah.
Right.
And that connected me. That connected me to spaces like the honors course that I taught at the college. It also connected me to shout out to Martha Diaz and the Hip Hop Education Center. And then speaking engagements. I just started doing a lot of things that were rooted in hip hop education, and I speak it not to pop collar, but from an authentic space as an educator formally and as a MC formally. Like I've done both for real,
right,
for real.
right.
And
I'll
so
pop
have
your
my
collar
brothers.
for you. I'll pop your collar
That's what
you.
you're here for. That's what you're here to do.
I appreciate you. But my brothers too, I don't know if y'all know this, both Kevin Breeze are certified educators. They've been teaching in the Bronx
I
for
did not
years.
know that.
All three of us are certified educators. Yeah.
Okay.
MC educators, a triple family for years.
For years.
Yeah, that's
all three of us. Yeah.
a legacy of that's serious.
But that's important of the balance of the hip hop culture as educators. I think that's very important. That shows the leadership right there. The guidance is right there. You know, as a shorty, you remember certain teachers coming up.
Yeah.
I don't care what grade it is. You remember that one teacher, and if we have more now, it's like, damn, the Juggaknots was my teacher.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's powerful. It perpetuates the culture. And I mean, we're now getting to that space where we're starting to understand, just like in sports and just like in every other area, we can step into hip hop and have a career in any other field associated with hip hop. There's career opportunities everywhere.
Absolutely.
And so I appreciate that part more than anything else, because I think that's the strongest thing that we need to get a hold of and get control of, so that we can build our futures beyond just the one trick pony, so to speak.
Absolutely. It's really important. Yep. And representation too. We have this conversation sometimes, and like I'm about to start in a new school, and this idea of just like diversity from a space of educators, I don't recall. Maybe a couple more so in college. College was probably the first place for me that I remember having a Black educator, a Black teacher or professor. In high school, there was a Black guidance counselor that played a pivotal role because she was really the only face that we saw, us brown young girls saw, right? College now different. So having representation between the sense of understanding of hip hop culture and culture, and then coming from a space of being an educator of color, that's super powerful. There's multiple layers there. And I think for the students to see that, it means a lot because there's a different level of connection from a cultural context, even from a learning space. You know what I'm saying? If I say to my students, yo, them kicks fresh, or you know what I mean? Or pardon me, if I'm in Chicago, the gym shoes, you know, like, you understand? Like now my kids all wear.
You can say kicks. Don't get it twisted. It's
I'm just saying.
But in school, they do say gym shoes.
Yeah,
in school.
They do say
of the
gym
culture,
shoes.
but this is the point of vocabulary and what different words mean in different spaces, cultural spaces, or, you know, demographic spaces. So, you know, all of this is relevant because then a student can feel like they can connect with you.
Right. They can relate and you're one of them, so to speak.
Absolutely. I used to run into my students at the Dollar Tree, Dollar General. Dollar Tree is in New York. Dollar General. Yeah.
What Dollar General?
The one over there by Mariano's on 30. Is that 35th? By King Drive.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I used to go there all the time.
You was on the block for real.
That was my spot. I used to go there, and I would, if I was being on some bouginess, I would do Mariano's. But you know, I was an educator out there, so I really did. What's the joint next to Mariano's? A couple blocks down, the supermarket. Jewel. Jewel's really where I would go when I didn't get paid yet. But if I got paid, I was up in Mariano's. Yeah.
So let's get to your excursions in Chicago because I used to see you around.
A little something.
There's Queen Herawin. She just chilling in Chicago.
just chilling.
Yeah, just out here. You know, I seen you at the Silver Room Block Party.
Absolutely.
I seen you in Hyde Park. I seen you at a couple shows at the Promontory as well.
Yeah.
So
I miss Chicago. I love Chicago. I really do.
You know, the Silver Room Block Party is no more.
Right.
I heard that this year was the last one that they did. My homegirl was like, yo, you should come out. So one of my sisters, I have a couple of sisters out there. They're like, we're so tired of hearing you gonna come out. Just come out. So you know what I mean? But she told me, she was like, yo, she went. She was like, it was the last one. I was almost like really gonna try to go just because of that. It's crazy. I've been a couple of times from when I was there, and it's such an experience. I'm not sure of the politics and the reasoning behind it, but it's sad.
Funding in the city, you know, neighborhoods wasn't all supportive.
Things are changing.
It takes a lot of money to run something like that magnitude.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely. That's fair. That's fair. I know there's been a lot of things since I've been there. Like when I was leaving, they were doing, I don't know if this is the proper name of it, but it was a winery in Brownsville.
City Winery.
Is that what?
No, not City Winery. The other one that's owned by Eric.
It's not
right. It's the one owned by Eric. I forgot the name of it.
One. I forget.
It is Brownsville Winery.
Brownsville Winery.
Yeah, it is
Brownsville Winery, right?
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. They were like they were doing the construction in the construction phase when I left, and I was like, damn, why didn't they do this before? This is gonna be really cool. So I got to come back and check that out. Yeah.
Yeah, that one pops. They have DJs in there getting it in regularly.
Yeah. So. Promontory was the joint though, and that was something always. I know, like you said, Kaz, we would see each other sometimes there, or like I said, Hyde Park by the record shop. I'd be over there. You know, so yeah, man. Or Harold's. I don't think we bumped into each other at Harold's. You know, but I'm definitely
let's get to the food. I'm glad you brought that up. Is there Harold's out there in New York? Like, was there something?
Nah.
No, they know Harold's out here. I want to fly out there just for Harold's, man. I learned I was so educated. Like, you know, shout out to, you know, the gentleman from Chicago. So he put me on, like, we're going to go get some Harold's. And he's like, you got to order lemon pepper fried hard. I'm like,
yes.
What? Okay.
Yes.
All right, babe.
There you
so,
go.
You know,
trust the process.
I learned a lot. Yeah. It was not a game, you know, Giordano's, you know, and always New York pizza.
What's up? What's up? Where we at? Where we at?
Okay,
Queen?
so
where we at?
So she had Giordano's.
Maceo.
Oh, don't use him. Nah, man. Don't use
cut
his.
our heads off every time. Every time. So where we at? Where we at?
Yeah, he don't like Chicago pizza.
Well, you know what it is that Chicago pizza and New York pizza is very, very different.
Yes.
You have to like understand mentally that you're going to do a culture shift with the food, right?
Okay.
So you doing deep dish. If you go out, you do the Giordano's. It's more like a pie. It's a whole different experience. But y'all be able to tell me, hopefully, because this pizza kind of reminded me for sure of New York pizza. What's the joint on 47th near Ross in the corner? Italian Fiesta.
Yeah.
Italian Fiesta now.
Man, she's Chicago there.
Yes,
bro.
you know.
What's up, Nick?
Yeah, you know. Yeah.
I'm just saying that's my other home. And so Italian Fiesta, that joint kind of slam, a different taste, but that's more like New York pizza for sure. Except they don't cut it up like that here. They cut it up in the squares out there. Yeah. They don't do that out here, which would be kind of cool. But yeah, listen, I got my little Chicago.
That's the
years.
spot.
You got the stripes. You good. Shit.
Yeah, that's right there.
What?
I mean, as long as we get in the positive, she eat the Heros. You know, she can deal with the pizza. You know
where the spot's at. You know where the dip off's at. You know where the shop at, and at when you get the big checks.
That was home.
You was living out here. That's real
I was
talk.
living out there.
That's real
Absolutely, no question about it. That's my other home.
Yeah.
So do us a favor before we let you go. You gotta spit a verse.
Oh man.
Any verse you want.
Any verse.
The only one I could think that comes to mind is an old verse because, like I said, the 40 plus. So let me spit my weight verse. That's so sad, but I'll spit my weight verse. Aside from getting in you. Oh, see, I can't even remember. Okay. Aside from getting in you, the words will stain you permanent like ink and epidermis from tattoo artists. Discard this. Thought a partnership you may have thought for this position and status. This entrepreneurship. Matter of fact, madness. I planned this like serial killers to banish. Thoughts aquatic like fishes surroundings. Underground and it's pounding like pregnancy. With the expectancy of 3 times 3. Use the mental 9 to climb like gladiator on wall. On call like physicians to deliver my labor. You savor the flavor like connoisseur to liqueur or parents' first picture of they mixture of offspring. Ring the alarm. I set strong cases of fire from my wire connections and disconnections is setting sparks because then I'm wetting microphone check-ins, disrespecting amateurs. Plus they mentors. Don't be a sore sport if this mentors. Attend the lectures. Long time ago. Long verse. Old verse.
Yeah.
Oldie but goodie.
Yes.
Lyric.
Lyrics to go.
Whoa.
Okay.
Whoa. Yeah, man. It's just the words. It's like it sounds like you made up those words. It sounds like you know your own language. It's your diction. It's
your
crazy.
Own language. Indeed, it is my own language for sure.
Yes.
So,
for sure.
Queen, I definitely appreciate the time.
Yes,
thank you both so much. I had so much fun here with y'all. Thank you.
What's the name of the project coming out? And
it's called Awaken the Sleeping Giant.
Okay. That's accurate.
You don't want to get stepped on for real, man. When you got a release date?
So we had a release date, a tentative of the end of August, but I'm waiting on one final song to be mastered and mixed, final mixed and mastered. I'm done with everything. It's just more like a technical space. And I think it's really important to have this song on there called Manifest. So I'm hoping that I can manifest it being on the album. If not, worst case scenario, I can always put it on something else, but I am holding for that. So we're probably looking more now like mid-September, just because of this slight pushback, but it'll be here before we know it. And I'll be doing some rollouts with singles to just help build up the momentum of the project. And, I'm so excited to share this. I'm really proud of it. And I'm really honored for all of the collaborators, from producers to MCs.
Yeah,
so
I was
many
going to ask.
You got everybody you wanted on there?
Yeah, who are some of the guests on there? Because I know we heard some stuff, but I don't know if you wanted to say it out loud.
Yeah. I mean, I can shout out some folks for sure. I can shout out some people. Production wise, MP from Memphis, Johnny Slash. did a joint on there, and then there's one other thing he did that I think I'm gonna use more for promo to kind of just build up the project.
Okay.
Let's see. Solitaire from Chicago, like I mentioned.
There we go.
Exactly. Got to shout out Solitaire. I had to put it here. I knew this might come up. So, and Kid Bear one from Philly. Neff Beats from New York, Mount Vernon, B Money, who's family. Who else? King Rem did some amazing stuff. Superstition. And Jay DePina from Rhode Island. I mean, it's so blessed with that regard. And then features Breeze Bruin, Ella G.
Shout out to Ella G.
Yeah, Ella G.
Yeah, Ella G. Shout out to my other brother there. Pretty Bully, Key Turner, Poison Pen. Yeah,
Poison Pen.
Yeah, Poison is on the album. My sister Rachel Walker is doing some behind lyrics for me on this song called Love. Akil Ali, Open Mike Eagle.
Shout out! Yeah, I meant to say previous industries. Open Mike Eagle, Still Riff. They're actually part of my crew, my old crew, Nacrobats.
I didn't even know. Oh, that's right, because originally Chicago, we've had those songs too. That's dope. I didn't even know that, Kaz.
Yeah. So it's dope to see you connect with them, and it's always a connection. That's really dope and love. So they on your Open Mike Eagles on your project.
Open Mike Eagle, is on a song called Shame that I just I'm really obsessed with. It's pretty amazing. And then I'll save the last two features because it's connected to this song Manifest. If and when it does pop off on this album, I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised. Like I said, I'm honored. I've been so blessed with some amazing collaborations on here. And shout out to Lion Face Studios, where I did a lot of recording, and shout out to the Attic Studios in the Bronx, where I did the majority of the final mixing and mastering. They're amazing out there as well. So yeah.
Word. So when this drop, you start doing shows, you gotta let us know you come to Chicago.
Help set it up, put it together. I'm down for it.
Okay.
I'm so ready in here for it. I would say when I come out to the shop, I'm gonna put it in the when. It would be really great if maybe we could even do like an in-store and also a show. So y'all let me know if there's any connections or things out there. Understand, I'm already there. That's home. So
for sure.
It ain't nothing but a word.
We'll work it.
Yeah, I'd love to come out. Absolutely. We can build more on that for sure.
You are official Fly Nerd certified.
Yes.
Yes. I'm excited.
Passed the test.
Awesome. Well, listen, I appreciate you both. What you do here is so important to continue these conversations about the culture, and just thanks for making time and building space in here for me. I appreciate y'all.
Appreciate
and
you.
Being a nerd is cool, everybody.
Yes,
Yes, it is. It is, man. I'm sitting here with Radimus Prime right now.
We make it so.
But look, when the Juggaknots, you guys dropping anything?
We have the re-release is literally on July 8th. We're having an in-store event at Rough Trade. And for anyone who's interested, you could go online and look for the vinyl there. Shout out to Coal Mine Records and where is it? Also another distribution place, I believe. Is it Get Down? Get Down.
Okay.
So Get Down. So and that's all available. If you go to Juggaknots, at the Juggaknots, you'll see the proper tag for them, the proper @ for them rather. I may be saying it not 100% correct. So definitely check there. You can go to my page. You can go to Breeze's page. But it's an affiliation with Coal Mine. And they're doing an amazing job just promoting it and pushing it out. But that vinyl looks beautiful. Some cool variations of color. Yeah, and we'll be doing the in-store on the 8th at Rough Trade in New York and doing a small performance and signing of the vinyl.
That's dope. Okay. Well, shout out to the indelible MCs.
Yes,
shout
absolutely.
out to you,
Queen. To the whole crew.
Yeah, we out here.
I appreciate y'all. Eat some Harrows until I can get there.
Oh, you have
no. I got you. I got you. Ride hard with double mouth
Kill Wins. I miss Kill Wins.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, y'all take care of me until I can be there. Real quick.
Yeah,
I got you. I got you.
All right, y'all. Much love. Thank you so much. It's been an honor and pleasure.
All right.
Peace, y'all.
Peace. Yes.